senator who voted against the jobless bill is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator Ron Johnson, welcome back to the show, as always. Let me just ask you right away. There's a national NBER, National Bureau of Economic Research, a very highfalutin, blue-chip think tank of famous economists. They just did a study that said the reason unemployment is so high is because we keep extending these unemployment jobless benefits. President says no. What say you?
Well, President Obama's former economic advisor, Larry Summers, issued a study before he became his advisor, basically said the same thing. You know, Larry, I was talking to a painting contractor in Wisconsin. He said, do not extend unemployment, and he told me the story about how he finally got two big jobs, went back to his laid-off workers, to a person. They would not take the job. They were very honest with them. Said, when really, until our unemployment benefits run out, it doesn't pay for us to do it. And Larry, to add insult to injury, he lost those jobs. Guess to who? Those same workers did the jobs for cash. Now, listen, we're all concerned about people who are long-term unemployed, and that's obviously not the typical rule. But the best thing, the best solution is to get our economy growing so we can provide people real jobs so they have the dignity to work.
How would you
that's what this president is singularly unable to do.
How would you recommend doing that? I mean, the economy is improving. I know that a lot of the ratio, the unemployment rate is too high. The marginal unemployment rate is even higher. It's close to 14%. I know the population, the employment to overall population is way too low, 58%. But, Senator Johnson, as a former CEO yourself, what would you do to really put some torque into the job story so we don't have to worry about extending benefits?
Well, we have to reduce the regulatory burden. It costs $1.8 trillion per year to comply with. That's a number that's larger than all but 80 economies in the world. Have to do that. We have to have a competitive tax environment. You mentioned Keystone XL pipeline. We should utilize our energy resources. That provide royalty to the government. It would put people to work. So it's not rocket science what we have to do. But politically, with this president, he's not willing to do those things. He'd rather have the political issue, and that's just a real shame.
Politically, how will you and other Republicans, let's say, counteract or rebut if this bill goes down or during the voting process or whatever? The White House and Harry Reid and people are going to say Republicans are Grinches, they're mean, they have no heart. What's your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, Harry Reid has to allow us to offer some amendments to improve this bill. First and foremost, it has to be paid for. $6 billion, you know, the easiest pay for of all. You were talking about the Murray-Ryan budget deal. Well, you know, Patty Murray got $22 billion of additional discretionary spending. Use $6 billion of that. That's the easiest pay for. If Democrats think this is a high priority spending item, they should spend $6 billion, that $22 billion on this item. They are refusing to do that right now, so we'll see how this thing plays out.
Why don't you do it? You know, I always wondered, Senator, if you're going to help them, why don't you do it directly, transparently in the budget, either by increasing the earned income tax credit or by just providing a wage subsidy? In other words, if you're going to help them, it seems to me extending benefits or raising the minimum wage are highly, highly inefficient, putting the burden on business. You know, benefits are expensive. You pay for the benefits out of the payroll tax. Why don't you just go and give them an earned income tax credit?
Well, you know, the other aspect of this, too, Larry, is from the federal government, we really shouldn't be in the unemployment insurance business. That's really a state issue right there, paid for by payroll taxes at the state level. This is emergency funding. It's temporary. Well, we're 4.5 years into recovery. At what point does the emergency end? At what point do we stop? You know, do we keep going temporary extensions of this thing? You know, maybe this is the point in time to do that.
This would be the 11th extension, and you're quite right, in the 4.5, fifth-year recovery. Let me just go back to your great op-ed piece in yesterday's Wall Street Journal. You are now bringing a lawsuit, I guess, against the federal government or the Justice Department. You want congressmen and women and their staffs not to be exempt from Obamacare, that they should be in the same boat the rest of us are in. Can you summarize that view?
Sure. The special treatment members of Congress are getting is when they lose their employer-sponsored care, like millions of Americans are about ready, that's going to be the next wave. Americans losing their employer-sponsored care. When those Americans go get their insurance from the exchange, they're going to have to do it with after-tax dollars. Members of Congress, they get a tax-preferred contribution by the employer. That's the special treatment. That's unfair. And, oh, by the way, the president does not have the legal authority to change the law. If he wants to change it, come to Congress and pass a new law. So it's really about upholding the rule of law and just basic fairness.
Isn't the federal health care plan available? I mean, I was in the executive branch for a while. Doesn't that thing have, A, many more choices than Obamacare, and
right.
B, the government, in effect, provides really lucrative subsidies to a lot of not only members, but staff who make triple, six-figure salaries?
But remember, the reason Congress is in this pickle is because the Democrats were trying to sell Obamacare to a very skeptical public. And in order to do it, they said, hey, we'd be happy to get our insurance through the exchanges. We'd be happy to follow all the rules and regulations. Well, they were eager to do that until they actually realized what they'd done to themselves. And what they did is they prevented themselves from getting employer contribution because nobody else can get that through the exchanges. So they sort of deemed that the federal government is a small employer so they can get their insurance through shop exchange. So this is so convoluted. This is so wrong. It should be overturned. And like I say, if President Obama wants to change the law, he should do just that. He can't be doing it through presidential dictates.
I love that idea that this is just a small little business government spending $3.7 trillion a year with what the combined payroll of about 4 million people. That's a great metaphor. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, we appreciate it very much, as always, sir. Coming up on Kudlow.